Fear is nothing but a thought. That's all it is. A thought that you've been carrying around, feeding it, giving it energy, letting it grow bigger and bigger until it seems like this monster that controls your entire life. But here's what I want you to understand right now. Right this very moment. That thought has no power except the power you give it. None whatsoever. You see, when you were born, you didn't come into this world afraid. You came in trusting, completely open, ready to experience everything. A baby doesn't worry about tomorrow. A baby doesn't lie awake at night thinking about what might go wrong. That fear you're carrying, you learned it. You picked it up along the way. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. Now, I want to talk to you about something that's bigger than fear. Something so vast, so infinite, so all-encompassing that fear simply cannot exist in its presence. Some people call it God. Some call it the universe. Some call it source energy or divine intelligence or higher power. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand this. There is an intelligence that created you, that breathes you, that keeps your heart beating without you having to think about it, that grows your hair and heals your wounds and digests your food. This same intelligence that created galaxies and stars and the perfect orbit of planets, this intelligence is within you right now. Think about that for a moment. The same force that creates life itself lives inside of you. And you think your little worry is bigger than that? You think your fear about money or health or relationships or what people think of you is more powerful than the force that creates worlds. It's not. It never was. It never could be. When you're in fear, you've simply forgotten who you are. You've forgotten your connection to this infinite source. You've started believing that you're separate, that you're alone, that you have to figure it all out by yourself. And that's exhausting, isn't it? Trying to control everything, trying to make sure nothing bad happens, trying to protect yourself from a future that hasn't even occurred yet. But here's the truth. You are not separate. You never were. You are a piece of the divine expressing itself in physical form. You are God in a body having a human experience. And when you truly get this, when you really understand it at the core of your being, fear becomes impossible. Let me tell you something about worry. Worry is using your imagination to create what you don't want. You've got this incredible gift of imagination, this ability to create pictures in your mind, and you're using it to rehearse disasters. You're using it to practice suffering. You're living through terrible situations that haven't happened and probably never will. And your body doesn't know the difference between something that's actually happening and something you're vividly imagining. So you're putting yourself through all this stress and anxiety for things that exist only in your mind. What if you took that same imagination and used it differently? What if instead of rehearsing catastrophe, you started rehearsing triumph? What if instead of visualizing everything going wrong, you visualized everything going right? Not because you're trying to control outcomes, but because you're aligning yourself with the creative force of the universe. You know, when you're in a state of fear, you're operating from your ego. Your ego is that part of you that thinks it's separate from everything else. It thinks it has to fight and struggle and compete. It thinks resources are limited and there's not enough to go around. It thinks you have to protect yourself because the world is a dangerous place. But your ego is not who you really are. It's just a character you've been playing, a role you've been acting out. Your true self, your higher self, knows something completely different. It knows that you are eternally connected to an infinite source. It knows that there is more than enough for everyone. It knows that you are always being guided, always being supported, always being loved. Your higher self has no fear because it sees from a perspective that your ego cannot comprehend. So how do you move from ego to higher self? How do you shift from fear to faith? It starts with awareness. Just becoming aware that you're in fear is the first step. Don't judge it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, oh, there's fear again. That's interesting. When you observe your fear without getting caught up in it, you're already creating separation from it. You're not the fear. You're the one watching the fear. Then once you've noticed the fear, you can make a choice. And this is where your power lies, in your ability to choose what you focus on. You can choose to keep feeding the fear, or you can choose to feed something else. You can choose to turn your attention to what you want instead of what you don't want. You can choose to trust instead of worry. You can choose to have faith that you are being taken care of. Faith isn't about being sure that things will work out exactly the way you want them to. Faith is knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. It's trusting that there's a bigger plan, a higher intelligence at work. It's understanding that sometimes what looks like a disaster is actually a blessing in disguise. How many times in your life has something you thought was terrible turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you? How many times has a door closing led to a better door opening? When you live in fear, you're trying to write the script for your life based on what your limited human mind thinks should happen. But the universe has a much bigger script, a much grander vision for you than you could ever conceive on your own. Your job isn't to control how everything unfolds. Your job is to stay in alignment with your source, to keep your connection strong, to trust the process. Let me tell you about surrender. A lot of people think surrender means giving up, but that's not what it means at all. Surrender means letting go of the struggle. It means releasing your grip on how you think things should be and allowing them to be as they are. It means trusting that the intelligence that created you knows what it's doing. When you surrender, you're not being passive. You're being receptive. You're opening yourself up to receive guidance, inspiration, opportunities that you couldn't have manufactured on your own. You're getting your ego out of the way so that your higher self can lead. Think about water. Water doesn't struggle. It flows. It finds the path of least resistance. It doesn't fight against the rocks in the stream. It flows around them. And over time, that gentle, persistent flow can carve canyons through solid rock. That's the power of surrender. That's the power of non-resistance. But our egos don't like surrender because surrender feels like losing control. And here's the funny thing. You never had control in the first place. You can't control other people. You can't control circumstances. You can't control outcomes. The only thing you can control is your own thoughts, your own reactions, your own vibration. And your vibration matters more than anything else. Your vibration is the frequency you're operating at, the energy you're putting out into the world. When you're in fear, you're vibrating at a low frequency. You're sending out a signal that attracts more things to be afraid of. It's like you're tuned to the fear channel, and all you can receive is programming that matches that frequency. But when you shift your vibration to trust, to faith, to love, you tune into a completely different channel. You start attracting experiences that match that higher frequency. You start noticing opportunities you couldn't see before. You start meeting people who can help you. You start feeling inspired to take action that moves you forward. This isn't magic. This is how the universe works. Energy attracts like energy. What you focus on expands. What you think about, you bring about. These aren't just nice sayings. They're spiritual laws as real as the law of gravity. So if God is bigger than fear and God is within you, then you are bigger than fear. You have access right now to all the power, all the wisdom, all the love you could ever need. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You can tap into that power right now, in this moment. How? Through your awareness, through your breath, through your willingness to see things differently. Every moment is a chance to choose again. Every moment is an opportunity to remember who you really are. When fear comes up, and it will come up because you're human, you can say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need protection from an imaginary future. I am safe right now, in this present moment. I am connected to infinite intelligence. I am guided. I am loved. I am enough. You see, most of your fears are about the future. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if? But none of those things are happening right now. Right now, in this present moment, you're okay. Right now, you're breathing. Right now, you're alive. And when you bring yourself back to the present moment, fear loses its grip. Fear needs the future to survive. It needs you to project yourself forward into some imaginary scenario. But when you're fully present, there's only now. And in the now, there is peace. In the now, there is wholeness. In the now, there is God. This doesn't mean you don't plan for the future or take practical action. Of course you do. But you do it from a place of inspiration rather than desperation. You do it from a place of trust rather than fear. You do it because you're being guided to do it, not because you're trying to prevent some catastrophe. There's a difference between being concerned and being consumed. Being concerned means you're aware of something and you're taking appropriate action. Being consumed means you're letting it take over your thoughts, your emotions, your entire life. You're giving it all your energy. And whatever you give your energy to grows. So what do you want to grow in your life? Do you want to grow fear or do you want to grow faith? Do you want to grow anxiety or do you want to grow peace? Do you want to grow scarcity or do you want to grow abundance? The choice is yours, always yours, in every single moment. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, but you don't understand my situation. You don't know how bad things are. You don't know what I'm up against. And you're right. I don't know your specific circumstances. But I know this, no matter what you're facing, no matter how difficult it seems, the power within you is greater. People have survived concentration camps. People have overcome terminal illnesses. People have rebuilt their lives from nothing. People have found joy in the midst of unimaginable hardship. How? Not because they were special or different from you, but because they tapped into something greater than their circumstances. They connected with that divine source within them. They found meaning in their suffering. They chose faith over fear. And if they could do it, you can do it. Because that same power that was available to them is available to you. That same source that sustained them is ready to sustain you. That same love that carried them through will carry you through. But you have to be willing to let it in. You have to be willing to release your resistance. You have to be willing to stop fighting against what is and start flowing with it. You have to be willing to trust that even when you can't see the path is there. Think about walking through a dark room. You can't see where you're going, but you trust that the floor is there. You trust that you won't fall through into nothingness. You take one step, and the ground supports you. You take another step, and it's still there. That's how faith works. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step. And here's what happens when you take that step in faith. The universe responds. Doors open, help arrives, solutions appear. Not because you forced them or manipulated them or worried them into existence, but because you aligned yourself with the flow of universal intelligence. This is what people mean when they talk about miracles. A miracle isn't something that defies natural law. A miracle is something that transcends your limited perception of what's possible. It's what happens when you get your ego out of the way and allow divine order to work through you. You are capable of experiencing miracles every single day, but not when you're living in fear. Fear blocks miracles. Fear says, I know better than God. I know how this should work out, and I'm going to worry and stress and control until it happens my way. But faith says, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that it will work out for my highest good. Do you see the difference? Do you feel the shift in energy? One is contracted, tight, anxious, exhausting. The other is open, flowing, peaceful, energizing. And here's something else I want you to understand. Your fear is not protecting you. You might think that worrying about something keeps you safe, that if you worry enough, you can prevent bad things from happening. But that's not how it works. Worrying doesn't prevent anything. It just makes you suffer twice. Once in your imagination, and once if it actually happens. The things you worry about rarely happen, and the things that do happen are usually things you never worried about. So all that time you spent in fear was wasted. You put yourself through all that suffering for nothing. What if you took all that energy you spend on worry and redirected it? What if you used it to create something beautiful? What if you used it to love more fully? What if you used it to serve others? What if you used it to connect with your source? Because that's really what this is all about. It's about remembering your connection. It's about coming home to yourself. It's about realizing that you are not a human being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Your body is temporary. Your circumstances are temporary. Your problems are temporary. But your spirit is eternal. Your connection to source is eternal. Your true nature is eternal. And when you identify with that eternal part of yourself instead of the temporary part, fear cannot touch you. This doesn't mean you won't feel emotions. Of course you will. You're human. You'll feel sadness and anger and disappointment and frustration. But underneath all of those emotions, there can be a foundation of peace. There can be a knowing that you are okay, that you are held, that you are loved. This is what it means to live from your higher self instead of your ego. Your ego experiences the ups and downs, the dramas, the fears, but your higher self remains constant, unchanging, at peace. It's like the ocean. The surface might be choppy with waves, but if you go down far enough, it's completely calm. You have access to that calm place within you at all times. You just have to remember to go there. You just have to take a breath, close your eyes, and drop below the surface chatter of your mind. That's where God lives. That's where peace lives. That's where truth lives. And the truth is that you are loved beyond measure. You are supported beyond what your mind can comprehend. You are guided every step of the way. You are never alone, even when you feel alone. You are never abandoned, even when you feel abandoned. You are never separate from Source, even when you feel separate. The feeling of separation is an illusion. It's the fundamental illusion that causes all suffering. When you believe you're separate, you believe you have to do it all yourself. You believe you have to have all the answers. You believe you have to be perfect. You believe you have to earn love and worthiness. But none of that is true. You are already worthy, just by virtue of being alive. You are already loved unconditionally and completely. You already have everything you need within you. You don't have to become anything. You just have to remember what you already are. And what you are is a miracle. What you are is divine. What you are is infinite possibility expressing itself in physical form. What you are is so much more than you've been taught to believe. Society tells you you're limited. It tells you you're not enough. It tells you you should be afraid. It tells you life is hard and you have to struggle and there's never enough and you better compete, because if you don't, someone else will take what's yours. But all of that is a lie. Life is abundant. There is more than enough for everyone. Your good doesn't come at someone else's expense. Someone else's success doesn't diminish your own. There is infinite creativity, infinite intelligence, infinite love available to all of us all the time. But you can't access it when you're in fear. You can't access it when you're in scarcity consciousness. You can't access it when you're in competition mode. You can only access it when you're in alignment with your source, when you're vibrating at the frequency of love and trust and abundance. So how do you get there? How do you shift from fear to faith in a practical, day-to-day way? It starts with your thoughts. You have to become the witness of your thoughts. You have to start paying attention to what you're telling yourself all day long. Most people have a running commentary in their head that's incredibly negative. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. What if I fail? What will they think? I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I'm not smart enough. I'm not attractive enough. On and on and on, a constant stream of self-defeating thoughts. And then they wonder why their life isn't working out the way they want. But you can't think thoughts of lack and create abundance. You can't think thoughts of failure and create success. You can't think thoughts of fear and create peace. It doesn't work that way. Your thoughts create your reality, not directly, not immediately, but consistently and persistently. Your thoughts influence your emotions. Your emotions influence your actions. Your actions create your results, and your results reinforce your thoughts. It's a cycle, and you can enter that cycle at any point to change it. The easiest point to enter is at the level of thought. When you catch yourself thinking a fearful thought, you can simply choose a different thought. You can ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it serving me? And if the answer is no, you can let it go and choose something else. You can choose to think, I am guided, I am supported, I am loved, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough. These aren't just affirmations you say without meaning. These are truths you align yourself with. These are spiritual facts about who you really are. And the more you practice thinking these thoughts, the more natural they become. The more natural they become, the more your vibration shifts. The more your vibration shifts, the more your outer world begins to reflect your inner world. This is not positive thinking for the sake of positive thinking. This is not pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is choosing to align with truth instead of illusion. This is choosing to see yourself the way God sees you instead of the way your wounded ego sees you. Your ego has been hurt. It's been rejected and criticized and disappointed. It's built up walls to protect itself. It's created strategies to keep you safe. And those strategies might have worked for a while, but they're not working anymore. They're keeping you small. They're keeping you stuck. They're keeping you in fear. But you don't have to listen to your ego anymore. You can thank it for trying to protect you, and then you can choose to listen to your higher self instead. Your higher self knows that you're safe. Your higher self knows that you're loved. Your higher self knows that everything is working out for your highest good, even when you can't see how. This is what faith is. Faith is trusting what you can't see. Faith is knowing that there's a bigger picture, even when you can only see a tiny piece. Faith is believing that you are being led, even when you can't see the path. And when you live in faith, when you really live it, not just think about it or talk about it, but actually embody it, your life transforms. Stress melts away. Anxiety dissolves. Peace fills the space where fear used to live. Does this mean nothing bad ever happens? Of course not. You're still human. You still live in a physical world where things break and bodies age and relationships end and people die. But your experience of those things is completely different when you're rooted in faith. Instead of seeing them as disasters, you see them as transitions. Instead of seeing them as endings, you see them as new beginnings. Instead of seeing them as evidence that life is against you, you see them as opportunities to grow, to evolve, to deepen your connection with Source. Everything can be used for your spiritual growth if you're willing to see it that way. Every challenge can be a teacher. Every difficulty can be a doorway. Every moment of suffering can be a moment of awakening. But only if you're willing to shift your perspective. Only if you're willing to ask, what is this here to teach me? How is this serving my highest good? What am I meant to learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Why is life so unfair? When will this be over? Do you see the difference in those questions? One set of questions keeps you in victim consciousness. The other set moves you into creator consciousness. One set keeps you powerless. The other reminds you of your power. And you are powerful. You are so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. You have the power to choose your thoughts. You have the power to choose your focus. You have the power to choose your vibration. And those choices determine the quality of your life. Not your circumstances. Not other people. Not the economy, or the government, or your past, or your genes. Your choices, your thoughts, your alignment with Source. This is the most empowering thing you can ever understand. You are not at the mercy of external conditions. You are at the cause of your experience, not the effect. You are the creator of your reality, not the victim of it. And when you truly get this, when you really understand it at the core of your being, you become unstoppable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you know that nothing can diminish who you really are. You know that no matter what happens in the external world, your connection to Source remains intact. You know that you are eternal, infinite, divine. This is who you are. This is who you've always been. This is who you'll always be. Fear is just a costume you've been wearing, a role you've been playing. But underneath the costume, underneath the role, there is only love. There is only light. There is only God. And God is bigger than any fear you could ever imagine. God is bigger than any problem you could ever face. God is bigger than any circumstance you could ever encounter. And God is not somewhere far away in the sky. God is right here, right now, within you, as you, breathing you, living you, loving you. So the next time fear comes knocking, you can smile and say, I see you. I know what you are. You're just a thought. And I choose to think a different thought. I choose to remember who I am. I choose to trust in the power that created me. I choose faith over fear, love over anxiety, peace over worry. And in that moment of choosing, everything changes. Not necessarily in your external circumstances, although often they change too, but in your internal experience. And that's what really matters. Because you can have all the success in the world and still be miserable if you're living in fear, or you can have very little in terms of material possessions and be completely at peace if you're living in faith. Peace is not something you achieve. It's something you return to. It's your natural state. It's who you are when you're not believing fearful thoughts. It's what remains when you let go of resistance. It's the truth of your being. And that truth is this: you are loved, you are safe, you are guided, you are enough, you are whole, you are complete, you are divine. Right now. Not when you accomplish something. Not when you fix yourself. Not when you finally get it all figured out. Right now, exactly as you are. This is the message I want you to hear. This is the truth I want you to know. This is the reality I want you to live from. God is bigger than fear, and God is not separate from you. Therefore, you are bigger than fear. You always have been. You always will be. So go forth in faith. Live from your higher self. Trust the process. Release the struggle. Allow yourself to be guided. Know that you are supported. Feel the love that surrounds you at all times. And watch as your life transforms, not because circumstances change, although they will, but because you change, because you remember, because you come home to the truth of who you really are. And who you really are is magnificent beyond words. You are a walking miracle. You are divine intelligence in physical form. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are love embodied. You are light expressed. You are God's gift to this world. Never forget that. When fear whispers its lies, remember the truth. When doubt creeps in, return to faith. When worry tries to take over, choose trust. You have the power. You've always had the power. You just forgot for a while, but now you're remembering, and everything is about to change.